Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. I never thought I would get a chance like this. My friends were going camping this weekend, leaving me alone with a perfect opportunity. I told them a white lie about a work emergency, something they bought without a second thought. As soon as they were out of sight, my heart pounded with excitement and a bit of fear. I rushed back into my apartment, feeling the walls echoing with my secret passion. Today, I was not just Chris, the software developer, but Chrissy, a side of me I had kept hidden from everyone. The transformation was something I had done countless times, but today was different. Today, I was going to step outside as Chrissy, not just in the safety of my home. In my bedroom, I opened my wardrobe, which was secretly split between Chris's clothes and Chrissy's. My hands reached for a fitted pink t-shirt. It was snug, highlighting the makeshift bust I had created with some clever padding. Next, I chose a pair of skinny jeans. They clung to my legs and the padded hips, creating the illusion of a more feminine figure. I added a cozy cardigan to my ensemble, thinking about the chilly nights. Underneath it all, I wore lace-trimmed undergarments. Their snug embrace was a secret thrill, a hidden layer that made me feel more like Chrissy. Dressing up was not just about the outer appearance, it was about how it made me feel inside. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my brunette wig. It fell in gentle waves over my shoulders, framing my face. Makeup was next. I wasn't an expert, but I had practiced enough to know how to accentuate my features subtly. Mascara, a bit of blush, and some lip gloss. Nothing too dramatic, but enough to make a difference. When I looked in the mirror again, Chris was gone, and Chrissy stared back. My heart raced as I grabbed my purse, checking to make sure I had everything. Keys, phone, wallet, all the essentials. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out of my apartment. The world outside felt different as Chrissy. Every step was a mix of terror and exhilaration. I had planned a quiet weekend at a secluded cabin, a place where I could be myself without fear. But fate had other plans. As I drove, my car started making a strange noise. Panic set in as the engine sputtered and died, leaving me stranded on a lonely road. My heart sank. I was miles away from any town, and the only place nearby was the campsite where my friends were staying. With no other options, I hesitantly made my way towards the campsite. As I approached, I could hear the laughter and chatter of my friends. I froze, realizing the precariousness of my situation. Here I was, Chrissy, about to meet my friends who knew me only as Chris. Taking another deep breath, I stepped into the campsite. Heads turned as I approached. For a moment, everything seemed to stand still. "Hey there, need some help?" one of my colleagues, Jake, asked, looking at me with a friendly but curious gaze. Yes, my car broke down a little way back," I replied, my voice higher than Chris's usual tone. "Well, you're welcome to hang out with us until you figure things out," another colleague, Emily, chimed in. She gave me a warm smile, and I felt a flicker of relief. As the evening progressed, I found myself blending in. My friends, unaware of my true identity, accepted Chrissy as a new acquaintance. We shared stories around the campfire, and I laughed and talked with them as if I were just another camper. But the biggest twist came when I found myself talking to Jake. He was always nice to Chris, but as Chrissy, there was a different dynamic. Our conversation drifted into light flirting, something that both thrilled and terrified me. I had to constantly remind myself to stay in character, to not let any hint of Chris slip through. The night grew late, and we all settled into our tents. Lying there, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. I was Chrissy, accepted and seen as a woman by my unknowing friends. But the fear of being discovered lurked in every shadow, in every whispered conversation. As sleep eluded me, I thought about the coming days. How was I going to keep up this charade? What would happen if they found out? But deep down, I knew I couldn't turn back. This weekend was a chance to live as my true self, even if it was under the veil of a secret identity. I closed my eyes, the sounds of the night lulling me into a restless sleep. The first rays of morning light filtered through the trees, gently waking me. I lay there for a moment, listening to the sounds of nature mixed with the soft snores of my friends in nearby tents. Today was a new day, and with it came both trepidation and excitement. I quietly emerged from the tent, careful not to draw too much attention. The camp was peaceful in the early morning, with most of my friends still asleep. I took this opportunity to explore a bit, feeling more at ease with fewer eyes on me. As I walked, the reality of my situation settled in. I was Chrissy now, not just in the privacy of my apartment, but out here in the open, surrounded by people who knew me as someone else. It was both liberating and terrifying. After a short walk, I returned to the campsite, finding some of my colleagues starting to stir. Emily greeted me with a smile as she prepared coffee. "Good morning, Chrissy. Sleep well?" she asked cheerily. "Yes, thank you. It's so peaceful out here," I replied, trying to sound casual. We chatted for a while, and I was surprised at how easily I slipped into the conversation. It was strange to interact with my colleagues in this new guise, but also strangely invigorating. As the day progressed, more of my friends woke up, and the campsite buzzed with activity. We decided to go hiking, and I joined them, albeit with a bit of nervousness. Hiking in jeans and a cardigan was different from my usual attire for such activities, but I managed well enough. The hike was beautiful, with stunning views and fresh air. I found myself enjoying the company of my colleagues in a way I never had before. As Chrissy, I was just another friend, not the reserved software developer they were used to. However, the most nerve-wracking moment came when we decided to take a group photo. As we all huddled together, I felt a pang of anxiety. This photo would be a reminder of a weekend that was both a dream and a risk. "Come on, Chrissy, get in closer," Jake said, putting his arm around my shoulder. I stiffened for a moment, but then relaxed. It was just a friendly gesture, but to me, it felt like a dance on the edge of a cliff. After the hike, we returned to the campsite for lunch. The conversations flowed easily, and I found myself laughing and sharing stories. But with every word, I was careful, constantly aware of the line I was treading. As the afternoon turned into evening, Jake and I ended up sitting by the campfire, just the two of us. Our conversation earlier had sparked something, and there was a clear chemistry between us. We talked about everything and nothing, and I found myself drawn to him in a way that was both exciting and dangerous. At one point, our hands brushed as we reached for a marshmallow, and my heart skipped a beat. This was more than just a charade now. It was becoming a part of who I was. But as the night wore on, the fear of being discovered grew. Every laugh, every glance, every touch was a reminder of the truth that lay beneath my carefully constructed exterior. Finally, I excused myself, saying I was tired. I needed time to think, to process everything that was happening. As I lay in my tent, the weight of my secret pressed down on me. This weekend was supposed to be an escape, a chance to be myself. But now, it was becoming a complex web of interactions and emotions, one that I was not sure how to navigate. I closed my eyes, trying to quiet the whirlwind of thoughts. Tomorrow was another day, and I had to be ready for whatever it brought. The line between Chris and Chrissy was blurring, and I wasn't sure where it would lead. I woke up, I had barely slept, my mind racing with thoughts of discovery and the complexities of my interactions with my friends. But there was also a thrill in the air, a sense of adventure that I couldn't deny. As the campsite came to life around me, I prepared myself for another day of being Chrissy. I could feel the eyes of my colleagues on me, but now there was a sense of confidence building inside me. I was more than just a disguise. I was a part of this group, even if it was under false pretenses. Breakfast was a lively affair, with everyone sharing their plans for the day. There was talk of another hike, maybe some fishing, and just relaxing around the campsite. I chimed in with suggestions, feeling more a part of the group than ever before. But as the day unfolded, so did the challenges. Being Chrissy in the midst of my unknowing friends meant constantly being on guard, making sure nothing slipped that could reveal my true identity. Every conversation, every interaction was a careful dance. One of the most challenging moments came when we decided to go swimming in a nearby lake. I politely declined, saying I hadn't brought a swimsuit. The truth was, I couldn't risk exposing my body and the secrets it held. It was a small setback, but it reminded me of the delicate balance I was maintaining. As the afternoon progressed, I found myself spending more time with Jake. Our conversations from the previous night had sparked a connection that was hard to ignore. We talked about everything from our favorite movies to our dreams for the future. It was a connection that Chris had never made with him, and it both excited and scared me. At one point, Jake and I found ourselves alone, away from the others. The conversation turned more personal, and I could feel the tension building between us. "You know, Chrissy, there's something about you. You're not like anyone I've met before," Jake said, looking into my eyes. I felt a pang of fear mixed with exhilaration. This was uncharted territory, a line I had never thought I would cross. The risk of discovery was ever present, but so was the desire to be seen and understood. I smiled, choosing my words carefully. "I guess I'm just full of surprises," I replied, trying to keep the mood light. But the moment was broken when one of our colleagues called out for us, bringing us back to reality. We rejoined the group, but the connection we had made lingered in the air. As the day turned into evening, we gathered around the campfire again. The warmth of the fire and the camaraderie of the group made me feel a sense of belonging, but it was a belonging built on a secret, a truth that only I knew. The conversations around the fire were filled with laughter and stories. I joined in, sharing anecdotes and jokes, but always with the underlying fear of discovery. It was a delicate balance, being part of the group while hiding a fundamental part of myself. The night grew late, and one by one, my friends retired to their tents. I lay awake in mine, not being able to sleep. As the sun rose on the final day of the camping trip, my thoughts were a mix of relief and regret. I emerged from my tent to find some of my friends already packing up. The air was filled with the usual end-of-trip chatter, a blend of tiredness and satisfaction. I joined in, helping to pack up the campsite, all the while feeling a growing sense of melancholy. After breakfast, Jake approached me, a concerned look on his face. "Hey, Chrissy, about your car. I'm pretty good with engines. Want me to take a look before you call for a tow?" he offered. I hesitated for a moment. The thought of spending more time with Jake was tempting, but it also meant prolonging the inevitable revelation. However, the practical side of me won. "That would be great, Jake. Thanks," I replied, trying to sound casual. We walked to where my car was parked, a little away from the campsite. As Jake busied himself under the hood, I stood there, awkward and unsure. The silence between us was filled with unspoken words and shared glances. After a while, Jake straightened up, wiping his hands on a rag. "It was just a minor issue. Should be fine now," he said with a smile. "Thank you so much, Jake. I don't know what I would have done without your help," I said, feeling a genuine warmth for him. As we walked back to the campsite, Jake's demeanor changed. He seemed more reflective, more serious. "Chrissy, I don't know how to say this, but I feel like there's something you're not telling me," he said, looking at me intently. My heart skipped a beat. Was this it? Was he on to me? I struggled to maintain my composure. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to sound perplexed. Jake shook his head. "I don't know, it's just a feeling. But whatever it is, I want you to know that I'm here if you ever need someone to talk to," he said sincerely. I was touched by his concern, but also scared. How much did he suspect? "Thanks, Jake, I'll remember that," I replied, giving him a small smile. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of activity as we finished packing up. Driving back in my now fixed car, I was alone with my thoughts. The weekend had been a roller coaster of emotions, and I wasn't sure how to process it all. The freedom of being Chrissy, the connection with Jake, the constant fear of discovery, it was overwhelming. As I neared my apartment, the reality of returning to my everyday life as Chris hit me. I felt a sense of loss, a longing for the freedom and acceptance I had experienced as Chrissy. But I also knew that this weekend had changed something in me. I had tasted a freedom that I couldn't just forget. I parked my car and sat there for a moment. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out of the car and into the familiar surroundings of my apartment complex. As Chris, I felt a sense of normalcy returning, but it was tinged with the vivid memories of the weekend. The transformation back to Chris was a quiet, reflective process. The clothes, the wig, the makeup, each piece removed felt like stepping away from a part of myself that I had just begun to understand. The weekend had passed in a blur, and before I knew it, Monday arrived. The thought of seeing my colleagues at work, those who had unknowingly spent the weekend with Chrissy, filled me with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. I dressed in my usual work attire, a stark contrast to the outfits Chrissy had worn. As I entered the office, the familiar sights and sounds greeted me. My colleagues were buzzing with stories from their camping trip, unaware of the secret I held. I approached them, feigning ignorance. "Hey, how was the camping trip?" I asked, trying to sound casual. They turned to me with bright smiles. "Chris, you missed out. It was amazing," Emily exclaimed. "And guess what? We met this mysterious girl, Chrissy. Her car had broken down, and she ended up hanging out with us for the weekend." I felt my heart race as they recounted their interactions with Chrissy, each detail a reminder of the mask I had worn. They spoke of her with a sense of intrigue and fondness, completely oblivious to the truth. "Yeah, she was really cool, a bit mysterious but fun to be around," Jake added, a hint of something more in his tone. I listened, nodding and smiling, a whirlwind of emotions churning inside me. The way they spoke of Chrissy, so positively and without any hint of suspicion, was a relief. The day went on. As I sat at my desk, I realized that while Chrissy was a part of me, I couldn't live behind that mask forever. But for now, I had a secret to keep, a story to hold close. The mysterious girl, Chrissy, would remain a fond memory for my colleagues, a fleeting encounter with someone they never really knew. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.